Welcome to Nevada Dark, a place where Nevada's darkest stories come to light. Today, we're not going to talk about ghost towns or urban legends. I'm going to share with you guys today a true story, as dark as the mushroom cloud that once covered our skies. A story of silent betrayal, of contaminated bodies, and of thousands of people who died without knowing why. A story in which the enemy did not come from outside. It came from the government itself. It was January 1951 when the first nuclear bomb exploded at the Nevada test site, a desert area just over an hour from Las Vegas. Until then, nuclear tests were carried out in the Pacific in remote locations like the Bikini Atoll. But that was expensive and far away, and Nevada was empty and seemingly perfect. Thus began an era of fire, smoke, and radioactive dust. Between 1951 and 1992, 928 nuclear explosions were detonated at the site. Of these, 100 were open air, launched directly into the air. The government called them controlled tests, but what they couldn't control was the wind. In Las Vegas, meanwhile, the explosions became a spectacle. Hotels like the Desert Inn and the Flamingo sold rooftop viewing packages. There were cocktails with names such as Atomic Sunrise, and even contests like Miss Atomic Bomb. People were taking pictures with nuclear mushrooms in the background. The windows shook, the walls vibrated, and everyone smiled because the government said, "It's fine." But it never was. After each test, radioactive particles settled on the grass. The cows ate it, and the radiation passed into the milk. The most dangerous substance was iodine 131, which accumulates directly in the thyroid gland. Who were the most affected? Children. Millions of them in Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Idaho, and Montana drank contaminated milk daily. Nobody warned them about anything, and decades later, tumors began to appear: thyroid cancer, leukemia, lymphomas, and brain tumors. A study by the National Cancer Institute estimates that at least 11,000 cases of thyroid cancer were caused by this milk, and that is a conservative figure. Communities living under the path of the wind were called downwinders. Towns like St. George, Utah, where people saw a white mist fall after each test. They thought it was desert dust. They played in it, it got into their water, their eyes, and their lungs. Young women began to suffer miscarriages. Adult men died at the age of 40. 5-year-old children were diagnosed with leukemia. Many downwinders said they lived for years as if someone had sprayed poison from the sky on them. The government knew it and said nothing. And they weren't just civilians. During several tests, the army sent more than 200,000 soldiers to the area to train under nuclear warfare conditions. They told them it was safe. They were marched towards the mushroom cloud just minutes after the detonation. No protection, no warning. Many developed aggressive cancers, autoimmune diseases, and genetic mutations. Decades later, pensions and medical benefits were limited. They became known as the Cloud Soldiers. But the horror didn't end there. In 1954, Hollywood filmed the movie The Conqueror, starring John Wayne and Susan Hayward. They filmed it in the Utah desert, right where several recent tests had fallen. The result? Out of the 220 people who participated in the production, at least 91 developed cancer, and 46 died from it. Among them, John Wayne, who died from stomach cancer, director Dick Paulwell as well. The lead actress, the same. The press dubbed it the cursed film, and the contaminated sand was taken to Hollywood as part of the set. In 1953, one of the most powerful explosions, dubbed Upshot Not Hill Harry, released a cloud that traveled more than 1,000 kilometers. Radioactive rain fell on towns in Colorado, Nebraska, Iowa, and even reached New York. In some cases, the radioactivity recorded in Vermont's cow's milk was twice the levels acceptable by the Atomic Energy Commission, and yet no one communicated this to the public. It was better to hide it to admit the crime. In the 1980s, journalists like Howard Rosenberg began to uncover the truth. They discovered documents where the Department of Energy spoke of monitoring populations affected by lethal exposure. Where did they monitor? In the rural hospitals? Did the patients know? No. Did the doctors know? Neither did they. Many reports were classified, crossed out, or simply destroyed. Some entire communities disappeared from radioactive impact maps. They called them administrative errors, but those mistakes buried generations. In 1990, under public pressure, Congress passed the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, or RECA. It offered $50,000 in compensation to certain downwinders, nuclear site workers, and exposed veterans. But the requirements were so strict that thousands were left out. Radiation is not visible. It doesn't smell, but it stays on the land, in the water, and in our bodies. Maybe your grandfather lived in Nevada. Maybe your mother drank that milk. And maybe you too. You never knew. Because Nevada's nuclear legacy didn't just explode and disappear. It stayed with us, silent, permanent, invisible. And with that, we come to a close for this episode on Neva Dark. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next episode, if the radiation allows.